My precious child, stop. Do not move past these words. Archangel Michael is standing at the entrance of your spirit right now, and what he carries in his hands was sealed with your name before you ever drew breath. Today is not an ordinary moment. Today is the day. A lamp that has been burning beside you in every dark room you have ever sat in finally becomes visible to your eyes. Before this message reaches its end, you will understand exactly why every door that closed in your life was never a rejection. It was a wall being carefully removed from around a room you were always destined to enter. Stay here. Breathe slowly. There is no rush, and there is no deadline pressing against this moment. What is about to unfold between these words and your heart has been arranged since long before you stumbled upon this message. Archangel Michael wants you to know that this is not a coincidence. This is not a random moment in a random day. This encounter was designed, planned with the kind of precision that only heaven is capable of producing. Right now, something inside your chest is beginning to loosen. You might not have words for it yet. That quiet shift, that faint exhale that feels like your spirit just set down a suitcase it has been dragging through mud for months. That is the first sign. The lamp is already doing its work. It has always been doing its work. You simply could not see it because the walls around you were too thick, and the darkness was too familiar. Archangel Michael says, I need you to hear this clearly. God has never taken his eyes off of you. Not for a single heartbeat. Not during the mornings when you woke up with that heaviness sitting on your chest before your feet even touched the floor. Not during the nights when sleep came but rest did not. He was there. He watched you push through days that felt like walking through wet concrete. He counted every time you forced a smile when your insides were collapsing. He noted every single moment you chose to keep going when every rational thought in your mind said there was no reason to continue. That endurance was not just your own willpower. That was the lamp, burning low enough that you could not see it, but bright enough to keep your next step from falling into nothing. God placed it beside you the moment you were formed, and it has never flickered. Not once. Not even during the seasons that felt so dark you were convinced the universe had simply forgotten your address. Today, Archangel Michael is pulling back the curtain on something you have needed to understand for a very long time. The weight you carry, he knows its exact measurement. Not approximately. Not in general terms. He knows the precise ounce of worry that presses against your ribs when the bills arrive. He knows the specific texture of the grief you never properly mourned because life demanded that you keep functioning. He knows the question that surfaces in the stillness, the one you barely allow yourself to think, let alone speak. The question about whether anything is truly going to change. He has heard that question from your heart more times than you can remember. And Archangel Michael wants you to know something that should reach into the deepest part of your exhaustion right now. God has never grown tired of hearing it. That question has never irritated him. It has never made him pull away. Every single time it rose from your chest, he leaned closer, not further. You need to understand what kind of God is speaking to you today through Archangel Michael. He is not the distant ruler sitting on a throne too far away to notice the cracks in your ceiling. He is the one who knows that your left shoulder aches more than your right because of the way you sleep. He is the one who noticed that you stopped singing in the mornings. He is the one who felt the exact moment your hope shifted from expectation to obligation. When prayer stopped being a conversation and started feeling like paperwork you file knowing no one reads it. Beloved, if you have ever felt that way, Archangel Michael needs you to hear his next words with every door inside your heart standing open. God reads every word, every single one. He does not skim. He does not batch your prayers together with a million others and sort them by priority. Your voice reaches his ear as though you are the only soul in existence speaking. That is not poetry. That is the architecture of how heaven listens. If those words just landed somewhere deep inside your chest, somewhere you did not expect them to reach, type the word Amen in the comments below. Not for show, not for anyone else, just as a mark between you and heaven that says, I received that. I heard it. Let that single word be the first stone you lay today in a foundation that is about to change the entire landscape of your life. Now Archangel Michael wants to address the version of you that nobody else sees. Not the one who shows up and holds everything together. Not the one who answers the phone with a steady voice. Not the one who cooks dinner and pays the bills and drives the car and smiles at the neighbors. He sees the other one. The one who sits on the edge of the bed after everyone else is asleep and lets the mask fall. The one who cries in the shower because it is the only place where the sound gets swallowed. The one who carries a tiredness so deep that 10 hours of sleep would not even begin to touch it. That is the person Archangel Michael is speaking to right now. And what he sees in that person does not produce disappointment. It does not produce pity. It produces something far more powerful than either of those things. It produces admiration. Because the fact that you kept going, the fact that you showed up again this morning, the fact that you are here right now with ears still willing to listen after everything you have been through, that is one of the most extraordinary acts of courage heaven has witnessed in your generation. Do not wait to become someone different before you believe God wants to be close to you. He is not standing at the end of a self-improvement hallway waiting for you to walk the full length before he unlocks the door. He is right here, in the mess, in the fatigue, in the version of you that has not showered its spirit in weeks because the weight was simply too heavy to stand under and wash at the same time. He meets you where you are, not where you think you should be. If that truth just reached a place inside you that has been sealed for a long time, if it sparked even a flicker of warmth in a room you assumed had gone permanently cold, then let it stay lit. Do not rush past this moment. What you are feeling right now is not sentimentality. It is recognition. Your spirit is remembering something it always knew, but had been too exhausted to hold on to. The God who sees you is the God who stays. He does not visit. He inhabits. And he has been inhabiting your struggle since the day it began. Archangel Michael says there is something that has been working against you in the background. Something you may have noticed but could never fully name. It sits between your prayers and your peace. It whispers to you in the quiet. It tells you that the silence from heaven means something terrible. That the unanswered prayers are evidence that you have been abandoned. That the closed doors are proof that God has moved on to someone more deserving. Listen carefully. Archangel Michael wants to dismantle that lie right now, today, in this very moment. The silence was never absence, not once, not for a fraction of a second. Imagine a master jeweler sitting in a locked room. The door is shut. There is no sound coming from inside. From the outside, you might assume the room is empty. But behind that door, the most intricate and valuable piece ever created is being shaped by hands that do not shake and do not rush. That is exactly what God has been doing during every silent season in your life. The stillness you interpreted as neglect was actually the sound of concentration. The closed door you took as rejection was the boundary God placed around a work so sacred that even the noise of the world was not allowed to interrupt it. And that work, Archangel Michael says you need to prepare yourself for this. That work was about you. The lamp that has been burning beside you all this time was not just keeping you alive, it was illuminating a workspace. God was building something inside you, around your circumstances, and through the people you have not even met yet. Every quiet night was a construction shift. Every unanswered prayer was a measurement being taken. Every tear that fell without witness was material being gathered for the structure that is now almost complete. Today, the scaffolding is coming down. Today, you are going to begin seeing the outline of what has been built. And Archangel Michael says it will take your breath away, not because it is flashy, but because when you see it, you will recognize your fingerprints on every beam. Your prayers are embedded in the walls. Your patience is the mortar. Your endurance is the foundation. God used everything. Nothing was wasted. Not a single sleepless night. Not a single moment of confusion. He turned every fragment of your suffering into a load-bearing wall in a house that was always meant to shelter your future. If these words are beginning to shift something in your spirit, if you sense that this message is not random, but is part of an ongoing conversation between your soul and heaven, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. What Archangel Michael is revealing today is not a single event. It is the beginning of a series of unveilings that God has planned for this exact season of your life. Press subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell so that not a single word falls outside your reach. Now, Archangel Michael wants to speak directly into the place where the deepest wound still breathes. Because for many of you, the heaviest thing you carry is not a circumstance. It is not a bill or a diagnosis or a calendar full of obligations. The heaviest thing you carry is a scar, left by a person. Left by words that were spoken with the specific intent to diminish you. Left by a betrayal that rearranged your understanding of trust so completely that you have never fully rebuilt it. Archangel Michael sees those scars. He knows which ones are old and which ones still bleed when the temperature drops. He knows the sentence that was said to you. The one that attached itself to your identity like a parasite and has been feeding on your confidence ever since. He knows the face attached to that sentence. He knows the room it was spoken in. He knows the exact way your stomach dropped when those words landed. And today, he brings you this truth directly from the throne of God. What was done to you was wrong. It was not a lesson. It was not character building. It was not something you attracted or deserved. The person who wounded you was operating from their own fractured interior. Their cruelty was a confession of their own emptiness, not a verdict on your value. You were valuable before they ever entered your life. You remained valuable the entire time they were dismantling you. And you are valuable right now, sitting here, carrying the residue of their destruction on shoulders that were never meant to bear it. God does not stand at a distance when his children are wounded. He moves toward the broken place. That is his nature. That is the very definition of who he is. And Archangel Michael says he has been sitting inside your wound this entire time, not as a spectator, but as a healer whose hands have been working steadily in the dark, stitching together what was torn apart, rebuilding what was demolished, and replacing the contaminated foundation with something that can never be cracked by human hands again. And here is what makes that healing different from anything the world offers. The world tells you to move on, to get over it, to stop thinking about it, to accept what happened and build new walls so it cannot happen again. But God does not build walls. He builds bridges. He takes the exact material of your pain and uses it as construction material for the pathway between where you are and where you are meant to be. The scar tissue. He is forming inside you is not just a seal over a wound. It is a new kind of strength, a reinforced place in your spirit that can now bear weight it could never have carried before the injury occurred. The person who hurt you intended to reduce your capacity. But God, in his relentless genius, has used the very instrument of your reduction to expand you. What was meant to make you smaller has been repurposed to make you deeper. And depth, Archangel Michael says, is the single most valuable quality a human soul can possess, because depth is where God does his most intimate work. Depth is where prayers are answered in ways that shallow hearts can never receive. Depth is where the lamp burns with the most concentrated light. Archangel Michael pauses here because he wants the weight of that truth to settle completely into your bones before he asks you to do something. The healing that God is performing inside you right now is not surface work. It is foundational. He is not painting over cracks. He is replacing the wall itself with material that the original architect of your pain could never have imagined. And when the work is finished, the place where you were wounded will become the strongest room in the entire structure of your life. Write these words down, right now. Archangel Michael is asking you to take this step not as a ritual, but as an act of spiritual architecture. When you write something down, it moves from the realm of hearing into the realm of owning. Take whatever is near you. A piece of paper, the back of an envelope, the notes in your phone, and write these words. I am held. 3 words. Say them quietly after you write them. Let your own voice hear them coming from your own mouth. These words are not wishful thinking. They are structural truth. They are the coordinates of your spiritual position, right now, today, in this very breath. You are held by hands that have never dropped anything they chose to carry. And those hands chose you before you had a name. Archangel Michael now turns his attention to the prayers you have spoken that seem to have vanished into the ceiling. He knows which ones they are. He knows the ones you repeated so many times that the words were smooth like stones in a river. He knows the prayers you eventually stopped praying. Not because you stopped wanting the answer, but because the silence became so heavy that forming the words started to feel like lifting something your spirit could no longer carry. He knows the prayers you whispered in the dark when no one else in the house was awake. The ones that came out more as sighs than sentences. The ones that were barely words at all. Just the shape of desperation pressed into the silence. Every single one of those prayers was received. Archangel Michael says God did not just hear them, He collected them. They are stored. They are cataloged. They carry your voice and your tears, and the specific gravity of the moment in which they were spoken. Not a single syllable evaporated. Not a single groan was treated as background noise. They all arrived. They all registered. And every last one of them is being answered. But some of those answers, Archangel Michael says, were placed on hold. Not because God was indifferent. Not because your faith was insufficient. But because the timing of the answer had to align with preparations that were not yet complete. God sees the full map. You see only the mile you are standing in. He knows that if He delivered certain answers at the moment you requested them, the result would have been a fraction of what He actually intends. The delay was not cruelty. The delay was engineering. He was building the infrastructure that the answer requires to land in your life without collapsing under its own weight. Archangel Michael knows that hearing this does not immediately erase the pain of waiting. He is not asking you to pretend that patience is easy. It is not. But He is asking you to hold on to this fact even when your emotions argue against it. God did not forget. Not a single prayer. Not a single need. Not a single tear shed in a room where no one else could see. You have never been pushed to the back of any line. You have always been first in His attention. Always. Archangel Michael says, God wants you to understand something about the way He has been handling your prayers. He did not process them like forms in an office. He received them the way a father receives a letter from a child who is far from home. He read every word slowly. He held the paper close. He noticed what you said between the lines. The things you were too tired or too proud to speak plainly. And He began working on the answer before the ink was dry. Some of those answers are already moving toward you right now, traveling through channels you have not yet learned to watch. The delivery system of heaven does not follow human logistics. It follows love. Now, Archangel Michael prepares to reveal something that will reframe every difficult season you have walked through. This is the turning point. This is where the lamp in the dark room begins to glow bright enough for you to see the furniture, the walls, the windows, and the door you did not know existed. Here it is. The first major revelation Archangel Michael brings you today. Every closed door in your life was a protection. Every delay was a shield. Every silence from heaven was a surgeon waiting for the right moment to operate. God was not withholding from you. He was withholding from harm. There were blessings with your name on them that sat in rooms filled with traps. If He had opened those doors at the moment you begged Him to, you would have walked straight into devastation, dressed as an answered prayer. He loved you too much to let that happen. So He kept the door closed and absorbed your frustration, because he knew something you did not. He knew that what was on the other side of patience was infinitely greater than what was on the other side of that door. The lamp beside you was burning bright enough for God to see the danger. It was burning dim enough that you could not see it, because if you had seen the blessing sitting just beyond the obstacle, you would have tried to force your way through. And forcing your way through would have meant walking right past the real destination, the one that was not through that door, but through a different one entirely. A door that only becomes visible after the false one stops being attractive. Archangel Michael says that door is now becoming visible. Right now. Today. The lamp is brightening. The walls are thinning. And you are standing at the threshold of a room that was specifically designed for your life, your purpose, and your season. What you are about to walk into has dimensions that your current understanding cannot measure. But you will feel it. Before you can explain it, you will feel it settling over your shoulders, like a garment that fits perfectly because it was cut from the pattern of your own prayers. And now Archangel Michael turns to the specific fears that sit in your stomach like stones. He does not want to speak about them in general terms. He wants to address them with the precision that only someone who has seen inside your private worry can provide. The first stone is financial fear. Archangel Michael says this is not just about money, it is about safety. When you do not know whether you can cover next month, it infects everything. It contaminates your sleep. It shadows your relationships. It turns every unexpected expense into a threat that triggers a cascade of anxiety that goes far deeper than the dollar amount on the receipt. You have been managing this fear for so long that you have started to believe it is simply part of your identity. That you are the kind of person who will always be worried about money, always calculating, always bracing. God sees this, and Archangel Michael carries this message straight from his heart. He has not exhausted his capacity to provide for you. The resources of heaven are not running low. Your situation is not a budget line that got overlooked. The provision is coming, and it may not arrive through the channel you expect. It rarely does. But the God who fed thousands from a handful and turned shortage into surplus without breaking a sweat is the same God who has your address and your account number and your exact needs sitting on his workbench right now. He is not asking you to stop being practical. He is asking you to release the spiritual weight of financial worry back to him. The logistics belong to you in partnership with him. The terror does not. The second stone is about your health. Archangel Michael approaches this one with extraordinary tenderness because physical suffering carries a particular kind of loneliness. When your body is fighting against you, it can feel as though you have been cut off from the normal flow of life. Things that used to be automatic become negotiations. Energy becomes a currency you budget by the hour. And there is a prayer that lives behind every doctor's appointment. A prayer for healing that sometimes feels like it is being spoken into a wall. Archangel Michael says God has not forgotten that prayer. He is the God who heals. That attribute has not expired. He is also working inside your body in ways that have not yet surfaced in your symptoms or your scans. But there is something equally important he wants you to receive today. Physical struggle is not evidence of spiritual abandonment. It is not a punishment. It is not a sign that your faith fell below some invisible threshold. God understands suffering from the inside. He does not observe it from a distance. He inhabits it with you. And his presence inside your pain is doing work that your blood work will never detect. If these revelations are shifting something fundamental in the way you understand your own story, if Archangel Michael's words today are recalibrating things you have believed about God for years, you owe it to your future self to make sure you do not miss what comes next. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell. This message is not a single broadcast. It is a frequency. And what God is transmitting through Archangel Michael in this season is specifically designed for hearts like yours. Hearts that have been tested, bent, and are now ready to receive what the testing was always preparing them for. The third stone is loneliness. And Archangel Michael handles this one with the care of someone who knows the wound is deeper than most people admit. Some of you are surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You sit at tables full of voices and none of them are speaking your language. Others among you are genuinely alone. The phone does not ring, the evenings stretch like empty highways, and the ache for a meaningful connection has become so constant that you have started to accept it as permanent. Archangel Michael says, God sees this ache and he honors it. You were designed for connection. The longing you feel is not weakness. It is evidence of the original blueprint God used when he made you. You were constructed for relationship. When that element is missing, it is not a personality flaw. It is a vacancy in the structure of your days that was meant to be occupied. And God is working inside this area of your life with more intentionality than you know. He moves inside the hearts of people. What is hard can be softened. What has been disconnected can be rewired. There are people assigned to your journey who have not arrived yet. And there are people already in your orbit whose capacity to meet you at depth has been limited until now, but is about to expand. Do not give up on connection, not out of desperation, but with quiet expectation. Keep showing up for the people already near you. Keep becoming the kind of presence that draws honest hearts toward your door. And trust God with the introductions that only He can arrange. This truth about loneliness is one of the most important things Archangel Michael has ever spoken into this generation. Because the epidemic of isolation is not just social, it is spiritual. The enemy has convinced an entire world of connected people that they are fundamentally alone. He has turned screens into walls and notifications into noise that drowns out the one voice that matters. But God is dismantling that architecture one heart at a time, starting with yours. Starting today. The connection you have been craving is not far away. It is being assembled right now by hands that specialize in bringing together people who have been wandering in the same desert without knowing they were walking parallel paths. Now Archangel Michael addresses the fourth and perhaps heaviest stone, the one that sits at the very bottom of the pile, the stone of guilt, the part of you that keeps a running inventory of every mistake, every season of wandering, every deliberate choice you made knowing it was wrong. The part of you that approaches God with the energy of someone who has already been turned away. The part that whispers, I have used up whatever grace I was given, before every prayer even begins. Archangel Michael stands directly in front of that belief today and speaks with the full authority of heaven. There is no version of your past that places you beyond the reach of God. Not the mistakes you made when you were too young to understand their weight. Not the ones you made with full awareness. Not the seasons where you walked away entirely and lived as though He did not exist. Not the anger you carried. Not the habits that still make you lower your eyes. Not a single chapter of your history creates a wall between you and the God who runs it toward those who turn back. He does not stand at the doorway with folded arms, measuring whether your remorse is deep enough to earn re-entry. That was never His posture. His heart has always been pursuit. Relentless, undignified, embarrassing pursuit of the one who wandered. And that pursuit has never been conditional. Not on your behavior, not on your performance, not on the number of times you have circled back to the same failure. Come to Him exactly as you are. You do not need to clean up before you approach. The sense of stillness you may be feeling right now, that peaceful pressure settling around you, is not coming from comforting words alone. It is the tangible weight of presence. The God who has been walking beside you through every season has allowed you to feel what was always happening, just beyond your perception. He is here, right now, as real as the air entering your lungs. And now Archangel Michael reveals the deeper truth, the one that has been blocking more blessings than any external enemy ever could. Here it is. The lie that you are too late. The lie that the damage is permanent. The lie that the best seasons of your life have already passed and what remains is just maintenance. That is the wall that has been standing between you and the room God built for you. Not a demon, not a curse, not a circumstance, a belief. A belief about your own expiration date that was planted by an enemy who knew that if you ever stopped believing it, the force of your faith would be unstoppable. Today, Archangel Michael takes a hammer to that wall. Today, that lie loses its foundation. You are not too late. You have not missed your window. The God who invented time does not operate on a calendar that punishes delays. He is the God who makes rivers and deserts and roads through wilderness. The fact that you are listening right now after everything is not a last gasp. It is the first breath of a season that will redefine what you thought was possible for your life. Write this down now. Put pen to paper or fingers to screen and write these words. I am restored. Let your mouth form those syllables. Let your ears hear them in your own voice. These words are not aspiration, they are description. They describe what God has been doing behind every closed door, beneath every silent ceiling, inside every wound that still aches. He has been restoring you. And the restoration is not future tense. It is happening. Right now. Today. Archangel Michael now shifts his tone. What follows is not comfort. It is a charge. A divine instruction for this exact day. He speaks it with the weight of someone who has carried this message across the entire distance between heaven and your heart. The season you have been living through. The one that felt like winter pressed into years was never designed to be permanent. That was never God's blueprint. Seasons change, they always change. The drought breaks, the ice melts. The soil that appeared dead sends up a shoot that no rational observer would have predicted. And Archangel Michael says your shoot is already pressing through the surface. You may not see it yet because you have trained your eyes to look for disaster instead of dawn. But it is there, green and alive and pushing upward with a force that the frozen ground above it cannot contain. What is coming toward you will require the depth you built during the hard seasons. Not as a penalty, but as a qualification. The blessings that God has prepared for this next chapter of your life are not shallow gifts that anyone could carry. They are substantial. They have weight and width and consequence. And only someone who has been strengthened through genuine suffering has the spiritual infrastructure to hold them without buckling. That is what the dark rooms were building. Not punishment. Capacity. The ability to carry something magnificent without being crushed by it. Archangel Michael says the enemy tried to use those dark seasons to convince you that God was forging a weapon against you. The truth is the exact opposite. God was forging a weapon inside you. Your endurance is not just survival, it is equipment. Your patience is not just waiting, it is training. Your scars are not just evidence of damage. They are proof that you have already survived the thing that was sent to end you. And anything that failed to end you has, by definition, made you dangerous to the forces that wanted you silenced. Things that the enemy stole are being returned. Not in reduced form. Not as partial restitution. God's restoration does not come with deductions. When He returns what was taken, He adds interest that makes the original look small. Relationships that were destroyed are being rebuilt with stronger materials. Confidence that was shattered is being reassembled with components that cannot be broken by the same impact twice. Dreams that you buried because the pain of hoping was worse than the pain of letting go are being exhumed and given oxygen. Pay close attention. Archangel Michael says God is bringing provision through channels you would never anticipate. A conversation you did not plan. A connection that forms in a location you would never have chosen. An opportunity that arrives through a door you did not even know was in the wall. But know this with absolute certainty, every detail is planned. Nothing is accidental. What is about to happen in your life is so precisely orchestrated that the people around you will search for explanations and find none, because the answer is not natural. The answer is the God who writes endings that make the struggles of the story look like the wisest investment ever made. Today, Archangel Michael asks you to make a choice that will determine the atmosphere of everything that follows. He asks you to speak differently about yourself, starting right now. Starting today. The words that come out of your mouth carry the same creative authority that spoke the universe into existence, because you were made in the image of the God who speaks things into being. When you say, "I am broken," the spiritual atmosphere around your life bends toward breaking. When you say, "I am running out of time," the clock starts ticking louder. But when you say what God says about you, when your words align with His declaration, the atmosphere shifts. Doors that were sealed begin to rattle. Chains that were tight begin to loosen. Pathways that were overgrown begin to clear. So say this now. Write it down. Let every surface of your life hear it. I am chosen, not by default, not as a consolation. Chosen, deliberately selected by name, by a God who scanned the entirety of time and placed His finger on this moment and said, "This is the one I want. This is the one whose story I will rewrite. This is the one whose tears I will convert to fuel. This is the one whose suffering I will transform into a testimony so powerful that everyone who hears it will know that the God who did this is real. You are not here by accident. Your name was not drawn from a hat. You were chosen with the kind of intentionality that most people reserve for their most precious and irreplaceable possessions. That is how God sees you. That is how He has always seen you. And no amount of wandering, no depth of failure, no length of silence has ever altered that designation. You are chosen, today and always. Archangel Michael now issues the charge for today, and he does not issue it gently. He issues it with the full weight of divine authority behind every syllable. Stop carrying tomorrow's weight on today's shoulders. Archangel Michael says this is the single most destructive habit in your spiritual life right now. You are living in Monday while suffering through Wednesday's problems. You are enduring April's weather and January's body. The fears that are consuming your energy right now are not fears about what is. They are fears about what might be. Losses that have not occurred are already producing grief in your chest. Conversations that have not happened are already stealing your sleep. Decisions that have not arrived are already paralyzing your hands. God did not design you to process time this way. Today is the only container He gave you, and He filled it with exactly enough grace for its specific contents. When you reach forward and pull tomorrow's burden into today's frame, you are operating outside the supply line. The grace that covers today does not stretch to cover a day that has not yet been born. That is why the weight feels impossible. Because it is. You were never meant to carry it. Put it down. Archangel Michael says, narrow your vision. Just for today. Just for this breath, this hour, this conversation. What can you do right now? Start there. God will meet you in that. When tomorrow arrives, and it will, He will be there with a fresh supply that is specifically measured for its contents. He has made this promise to you every single day of your life. And He has kept it. Every day that seemed too hard, you survived. Not always cleanly, not without wounds, but you survived every single one. That is not coincidence. That is evidence. Something has been sustaining you the entire time. That something has a name, and His name is written on the lamp that has been burning beside you since before your first memory. The dark season is ending. Archangel Michael says this, not as hope, but as fact. The winter that has been your address for so long is releasing its grip on the soil of your life. New things are already growing in places you assumed were permanently barren. You will begin to notice them in small ways first. A lightness in your chest where weight used to live. A thought about the future that carries curiosity instead of dread. A phone call that ends with laughter instead of exhaustion. These are not random fluctuations. They are sprouts, evidence that beneath the frozen surface, the seeds God planted during the dark seasons have been germinating in silence and are now ready to break through. Archangel Michael says what God is building in your life right now is not a temporary improvement. It is structural change, the kind that affects your family line, the kind that redirects generational patterns, the cycle of lack and loss and emotional inheritance that has been passing from parent to child for as long as anyone can remember. That cycle is being interrupted, not patched, not managed, interrupted at the root. What your children and their children will inherit from this season is not the same burden your grandparents carried. God is rewriting the genetic code of your family's spiritual DNA, and the pen he is using is the prayer you almost gave up on. If what Archangel Michael is speaking today is reaching places inside you that most words never touch, if this message is less like something you are hearing and more like something you are remembering, then understand that this is not information being transmitted. This is a key being turned in a lock that has been rusted shut for years. The door behind that lock leads to a room where everything God has been preparing for you is already arranged. The furniture is set. The windows are open. The lamp that has been burning beside you in every dark hallway is waiting on the table in the center of that room, bright enough now to illuminate every corner. What you are feeling right now is the sound of that door beginning to move. Now Archangel Michael ascends to the highest register of everything he has spoken today. What follows is not comfort, and it is not instruction. It is a decree, spoken from the throne room, sealed with the authority that shaped galaxies and hung stars in positions they have held for billions of years without shifting a single degree. You are loved with a love that does not depend on your performance. It does not fluctuate with your faith. It does not dim when you stumble. It does not withdraw when you rage. It does not reduce when you doubt. This love was decided, not developed. God did not grow into loving you. He did not learn to tolerate you. He did not arrive at affection through repeated exposure. He loved you before you existed. He loved you while you were being formed. He loved you during every season you are ashamed of. He loved you this morning. He loves you right now. And nothing in all of creation, not death, not life, not angels, not rulers, not things present, not things to come, not any power above or below or in any dimension yet undiscovered, has the ability to separate you from what he has decided. That is not emotion. That is architecture. The universe itself is built on the foundation of his love for you. And foundations do not sway. Archangel Michael now speaks the final decree over your life today. Stand in it. Let every word land like a foundation stone being set into permanent position. You are not behind. The delays in your journey do not represent failure. They represent preparation for a level of blessing that requires infrastructure your earlier self did not possess. Every hard season was a construction crew, building load-bearing walls inside your spirit. And the building is now ready for its purpose. You are not forgotten. God has your name engraved on his hands, not written in pencil, not stored in a file that can be misplaced. Engraved, permanent, visible every time he opens his palm. The darkness tried to make you invisible, but God has claimed you as his own. He has placed a perimeter of protection around your life that no force in any realm has the authority to breach. You are not broken beyond repair. What was shattered is being reassembled with materials that are stronger than the original. What was stolen is being returned with interest so generous that the loss will eventually look like the best investment you never chose to make. Your scars are becoming testimonies. Your wounds are becoming wells that other thirsty people will drink from. Your darkest rooms are becoming the places where the lamp burns brightest, because darkness is where light does its most powerful work. What you have been praying for is already in motion. The answer has left the warehouse. The blessing has your address. The breakthrough has been dispatched. It will arrive in a form you may not immediately recognize, because God wraps His greatest gifts in packaging that does not look like what the world taught you to expect. But when you open it, when you finally see what has been coming toward you during all those silent months, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. You will understand why the timing cannot be rushed. And you will fall to your knees, not in despair, but in gratitude that the God who loves you refused to give you less than His absolute best. You are entering a season of restoration. Things that were lost will be returned. Relationships that were severed will be reconnected. Health that was compromised will be renewed. Joy that was buried will resurface with a resilience it did not have before the burial. Confusion is giving way to clarity. Anxiety is giving way to peace. And the story God is writing with your life will be told for generations as proof that He never abandons what He starts. This is the word of the Lord delivered through Archangel Michael. It will not return empty. It will not fall to the ground. It will accomplish everything it was sent to accomplish. And it was sent specifically for you, today, in this moment, at this exact intersection of your pain and His provision. Now, before the closing prayer seals everything that has been spoken over your life today, Archangel Michael invites you to reflect on what you have received in these moments together. A lamp has been revealed. A wall has been dismantled. A decree has been spoken. And the God who never stops working has given you a glimpse of the room He has been building for you on the other side of every closed door. Take what you have heard today and carry it into every conversation, every worry, every morning, and every sleepless night. It will hold. It was built to hold. If this message reached a place in your heart that needed light today, share it right now with someone who is still sitting in a dark room. Send it through a text message to someone whose name just came to mind. Post it in your Facebook group or your church group chat. The lamp that was lit for you today is not meant to stay in one room. It is meant to travel. And your hands are the ones God chose to carry it. This mission, carrying light to hearts that have been sitting in darkness, is what this channel exists to do. And if you would like to be part of what makes this work possible, Archangel Michael invites you to visit the community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether through becoming a member, purchasing a coffee as a seed of support, or making a donation to sustain this mission, every act of generosity is a hand reaching through the screen to light a lamp in a room you will never see, but God will never forget. Your presence in this family of faith matters more than your offering. Come as you are, stay as long as you choose, and know that what you give will be multiplied in ways that extend far beyond what any receipt can measure. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, press the subscribe button now and activate the bell. What God is doing through Archangel Michael in this season is not finished. Today was one chapter. There are more coming, and each one is designed to build on the foundation that was laid in your spirit during this very message. Let us close with prayer. Heavenly Father, Archangel Michael stands before you now, carrying every heart that received this message today, every tear that was shed, every wall that crumbled, every fear that was named, and every hope that was rekindled. Wrap your arms around each precious child who stayed until the end. Let the lamp that was revealed today never dim in their sight again. Let them walk out of this moment carrying a peace that does not depend on circumstances, but rests on the unchanging foundation of who you are. Protect them from the lies that will try to rebuild the walls you just tore down. Station angels at the borders of their minds and their hearts. Let them sleep tonight knowing they are held. Let them wake tomorrow knowing they are chosen. Restore what was stolen. Heal what was broken. Open what was sealed. And let the season that begins today be the one their grandchildren will point to and say, "That is when everything changed." In the mighty name above all names, Amen.